Welcome back to another episode of the Landscaping Podcast, brought to you by Shay Brickhouse and Zac Small. We are your hosts for this podcast, where we talk landscaping, the landscaping industry, and all things that are involved with it. So, Zac, what is our episode today going to be geared towards?
Today we are talking about the 5 core values that we based this company upon. So the 5 core values of Landscaping Unlimited, with the first being lead by example. Shay, why did we start here? Because this is an employee handbook. You and I went back and forth on what they stood for, and at the end of it, I was like, all right, we had 10, and we whittled it down because we had to hit the main 5 that covered everything. And the 5 that we're going to hit today, there's a lot of discussion that went into these. And so with the first one being leading by example, before we dive into that, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you got your name into the giveaway that we're doing for the fire pit and water pit feature, because that is going to be going next week. And stay tuned for our Super Bowl and Olympic Games ads. If you're in the local Eastern North Carolina area, make sure you're streaming through WITN for the Super Bowl and the Olympic Games, because you will see our ad being displayed for you. Had to get that out of the way before we moved on. Shay, our first core value, lead by example. Why did we start here?
So, lead by example is important to me, because that's how I was raised in this company. I was shown what to do by everyone that I worked with. Every crew member that I worked with as a team, every leader that I worked under, they all showed me what to do, not by yelling at me or telling me this is what you need to do. They showed me. If it was how to install a patio or how to build a retaining wall or irrigation system, they showed me how to do it in the field. They then again explained it to me on paper. They went through all the math and the science behind all of it, but they did all that by showing me the job and showing me what right looked like. Not by just, well, here's the book, read all this, take the test, now you know it. It was all lead by example. And with that, you see their work ethics. You see how hard they work out in the field. You see how they don't ask someone else to do something that they're not willing to do. And so it's, you get a lot of respect from your supervisors and vice versa, if you're out there working together and leading by example. If you ask someone, we always reference the creeks, and I think we will reference them forever. The creeks jobs for us is a very, very unfriendly environment with snakes and spiders and alligators and beavers that were trying to eat us. But there's a sarcasm we talked about, the beavers trying to eat us. But anyways, we got out there in the creeks with the guys. We worked with them every day. There was only a few days that they went and worked the creeks without us. I know Zac worked a couple of days without me, had somewhere to be, but it's led by example. We didn't ask anybody to go in those creeks unless we went in there with them and we were willing to do all the work that we were asking them to do. And with that, all of our guys did it, no questions asked. So it was lead by example, and that's why I think it's important that it's a core value, because you'll have people follow you that way.
I think when I look at this from the angle of Landscaping Unlimited, the one thing that needs to remain true is that nobody's above or beneath the next man.
Yeah.
And so your job title speaks to the responsibilities that you have, but not to who it is that you are. And so when we're talking about leading by example, it's like to the individual themselves.
Yeah.
And that has to run true through the entire company. We are still small enough as a company to where, companies that have thousands of people across different states, they don't know each other. We are all together, and so when you have a company that sees each other every single day, and you kind of have each other's back every single day, because sometimes landscaping is helping hardscaping, or hardscaping is helping landscaping, you don't ever hear anybody say, that's not my job.
That's right.
If you'd said, Zac, go weed eat and take care of this property, and I was like, well, that's not my job, then I'm showing you that I'm not willing to lead and show the men that we do whatever it takes, because I'm not doing whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so that spreads. And so to me, nobody says in the company, because you're on the deck plates, and every individual, from the most experienced to the newest men, are working together side by side. Everybody's in there. And the times that you've got to pop smoke to go talk to a client or do some office work, you never hear the men say, well, Shay's always, Mr. Paper admin now, or even me with the camera. I do a lot more social media stuff. I don't ever catch that kind of buzz, because they know I'm willing to jump in and do whatever it takes, because that's what we have embodied. And I truly believe you shouldn't espouse the message that we're all going to work together and we got each other's back. You have to literally embody it.
Yep.
So embody the message, don't espouse it, which is another way of lead by example.
Yep.
And so when you set that tone from the beginning, and the core values is like, listen, if you want others to be better, Show them what better looks like and let them follow that. And I think you do a good job with that throughout the company. And I think we all strive to that standard, and nobody's going to slack off because they know you're not. And if the boss man isn't slacking, why the heck would anybody else? Because you have more to balance, and yet you make time to do these things, like just today, doing the pavers. Now we've got Landon doing the pavers. He watched you do it, he learned. He knows no matter what goes on, you've got his back and will help him out because you've shown it. And so I guarantee Landon, as he grows and he's in charge of someone else, he will be a leader like that because he saw the example of what it looked like. And now he knows he's got to set that same tone in the future with whoever it is he's guiding.
Also, another note of leading by example and it being number one, within the company here, is you've got new guys coming on board. And so if you don't lead by example every time you get a new person to the team, well, they're not part of the team yet. So they're very susceptible to what they see and the camaraderie that the team has. If the new guy shows up and he's not instructed or he's not led, then he doesn't know what to do because his leader or his mentor for that crew isn't telling him what to do. And so leading by example is he can watch the leader, he can watch him work, he can have conversations with the leader, and by examples that the leader is giving, now the new guy understands, hey, this is what Landscape Unlimited stands for, this is who we are, and this is how we operate, so that he doesn't deviate away from that. And it kind of sets that line of don't drop below this because this is what we expect.
Yeah, and nothing's worse than do what I say, not what I do type mentality. I enjoy cigars, but I would never sit and have a cigar in front of a customer while we're talking about the property that we're maintaining or working on.
Yeah.
Imagine me doing that though. Imagine me smoking my cigar, but then telling our guys, you can't smoke in front of customers. They would be like, you are actively doing this, and you're telling, why do you get to and not me? And that's where that weird divide happens. So that's why when we say certain things like, don't do this, like we would never do this.
Yeah.
So then everybody knows like nobody does this. Not some people, nobody.
Yep.
And I think that example that you set, it bleeds into everything else. And so you can't be telling people, don't do this, and then you're going out and doing it because they're like, well, you're clearly showing me that once I hit a certain level, the rules don't apply to me.
Yeah.
And then that's just not a company ethos. That's not about the core values anymore because the leader isn't following it.
Yep. And I think that also stems into what, like your presentation, how you present yourself on the job site, your mannerisms, your body language, the verbiage that you use. If you're out there on the job site and you're hooting and hollering as a leader, well, then everyone below you is like, oh, okay, well, we can yell and scream and, say profound language because it doesn't matter. So if you lead by example of saying, hey, like, don't do that, and you kind of cut that right to begin with, then it's like, well, now you're not allowing that to happen because now it's known we don't do that. And as a leader, if you're doing that, well, then you're setting the example that, you're okay with it. If you're not in uniform, if you're wearing profanity on your shirts, but you're not enforcing the uniform code, then you're allowing your employees to see that is allowable. Sometimes we catch ourselves in situations where, maybe we're going through uniform changes with our company, and so we're buying different uniforms and we're trying to get all that, deviated out. And the guys will be sometimes a little too lenient, and so they're wearing uniforms that we wouldn't recommend. And so it's like, all right, now we gotta go address that, make sure that they're in uniform.
Speaking of which, if you're watching this, do you like the hoodie? I think it's pretty nice.
Got the new merch.
I think we did pretty well. Yeah, since we brought it up, I had to showcase that. All right, our second core value, people over profits. I can think of several examples. One right now, I'm focused on somebody's patio of people over profits in real life. But before we talk about that example, people over profits in theory, what does that mean and why is it so important to Landscaping Unlimited?
Yeah, so people over profit, I don't think we can make it any simpler.
It's literal.
Other than the person is more important than the dollar. And so yes, as a business, the goal is to make a profit, make your ends meet, and make sure that you can progress, as a business. If you don't have a profit, you're not gonna stay running very long. So that's not what that means. It doesn't mean give it all away. What it does mean is that you understand that person is important. And so instead of trying to sell a large job, it is making sure that you sell the customer what they need and take care of that customer, no matter what, because that customer now has trusted you. They've allowed you to come in their lawn. They've allowed you to do a project for them. They're giving you some money. Now provide for them what you sold them. He's referenced a patio that I built it years back for a previous homeowner. We've actually got a video, I think, on Facebook where we kind of talk about it. But so our previous homeowner, new homeowner came in, we came back, tore out a fish pond, and then extended the patio. And while we were there, we did some work on a patio, on his existing patio, and re-poly sand a bunch of stuff, and just the poly sand did not harden up like it's supposed to. I followed all the directions. So I've got like 17 years of installing poly sand. There's different manufacturers that have come out over those years, but however, they've all pretty much got the same guidelines of install. And so installed all the poly sand, this patio, didn't harden up. Weeks went by, still wasn't hard. Customer called, went back out there, looked at it. Immediately within like the first 30 seconds, I was already testing the poly sand. Yep, we're taking all this out. He's walking around the corner. I'm already on the phone trying to figure out if the manufacturer will come out here, look at it. Will they work with me on it? Whatever. I got no help other than some product, which I still have to get a credit for. All we got was the product, a new product to put out, which was actually the manufacturer we were using recommended another manufacturer, so we won't be using that manufacturer in the future. However, we lost a ton of money on that because we had to go back to this customer's house, clean his entire patio, which now means we had to clean it with a biodegradable detergent, clean all of the patio because we had to pressure wash all of the old poly sand out of the joints. The stuff that did harden, that did crust over, that didn't harden, all that had to get blown out, which means we had to get all the way to the bottom of the brick. It's very time consuming. It's that patio was around 700 and some square feet, walkways and stuff like this around the house. And so to do all that, to pressure wash it all, surface clean the whole thing, which also meant now we're cleaning the barn that it's pushed up against too, because we're blowing dirt all over it. We're cleaning the walls that were retaining walls that are around the patio for the raised patio we just built, and we're doing all that, and the customer is happy because we went and did everything. However, multiple times he's tried to pay us for doing that, but he should never have to, and we won't take that money, and I never will. But that is, I think, where we strive for people over profit. We want to make that customer happy. We want to make sure that he gets what he paid for, because that's what he paid for. He didn't pay for me to come back 2 times, 3 times, no matter what the cause. It was, as a company, we just want to make it right. And that's what we've done there. And I can think of numerous other times where our company has done that. Sometimes some under my leadership, some under my dad's, some under Gerald's, where we have just gone back and made it right.
No, I think those examples are important for other companies to hear, because we've all heard it. We've all heard people say, well, I'm just a number, or you treat us like we're just a number, or sports teams will treat their players, they're just a number. You don't matter, you are just a number. And how unfortunate is that to not be seen? When I'm thinking about it, as you were going on about the projects, those are literal jobs that we've gone back and been like, hey, you, the person, matter. We're going to make this right because you as an individual deserve that you're a person who deserves what it is that you came to an agreement with and we shook hands on, which is a product that can stand on its own for a length of time, not for a week. And then I started thinking, the Bath Parade, the amount of time that was put into building the float and then driving around and doing all that, and just the phone calls around it, the registration, everything you have to do to be in a parade, the time we dedicated to that could have been time that we were out working on other projects for the company. Mighty Young Men, going out and seeing the community in that front. Everything that, the time that you step back and go to support kid functions, or have let the rest of us go support our kids' functions. Yeah. That's all time that's going away from actually working on the grind of the business, because you're taking care of the people, and we're focusing on the people and not just the product or the profit. And so I think that culture is one that leads to why this company is viewed the way it's viewed, is because those people are being seen and they're seeing. And I think that's what I love most about the podcast, the people that talk to us about like our lives. Like, hey, I saw this, or I didn't know that. We just had a meeting. Yep. A man came out here with his son. He was in the local area, and he's like, hey, I see all that stuff that you guys are doing online. Like, you really are going for it. Like, dude, I'm glad you see us, because yes, we are. And this is who it is that's doing the work that you guys are sitting, watching, and enjoying. And so it's my hope that people pick up on this trend and continue to bring it into their lives, because if all you're looking at is the bottom dollar, well, that money's going to go away. But those people, they'll be there forever. And what you realize is those relationships are going to take you much further and to much more profitable lands, because people then want to see you win. On the photography side of the house in my life, people will pay me because they love what I do. And so they're happy to give me the money. And they know I'm going to take that money and I'm going to go put it back into our community. I'm going to go put it into my business to provide a better quality service. It's not going to, people have this weird taboo around money.
Yeah.
And I've heard the phrase, money's the root of all evil, and I always argue like money's the root of all good, because, and they say, well, it's the love of money. And I was like, I kind of can meet you there, but here's a strict point I want to make. I love what money can do for me, because I can get money to create experiences, it can create memories. Like, how difficult would it be for us to do the things we do with $0? Like, how can I go support my community? I can't buy anything.
Yeah.
Hey, well wishes. Do you guys run well wishes? Because that's all I have to offer you. No, money's fine, and making money's fine, and you should go and do that, but you should do it with something that's pure. And I think that's what bonds all people.
Yep. Another example of people over profit. We talk about the community, we talk about, our customers. I think it's also important that we talk about employees. That your employees are people, and that you put them first over your profit. And I know what you're thinking is like, well, how can you, pay your employees or this and that and not worry about your profit? It's like, well, your employees have to have a reason to come to work. They have to love what they do. They have to enjoy who they're around. And there's no way you can enjoy that unless you have that, transparency between employee and leader or owner or whoever's a superior above them. But it's all about being personal. Being, not saying you have to spill all your details of your personal life.
All the tea.
Yeah, but it's very much there has to be a communication there, not a, hey, you have to do this because I said so. It's a, hey, you're a person, I understand what you're going through, talk to me and we'll see if we can figure it out. The company will look at it and we'll adjust and see what we can do to accommodate and vice versa. Because at the same time, just like if I have to step away to a ball game with my kids or to a meeting or something, then those people will take care of me because I would take care of them in the same situation. So it's people over profit that way. Sometimes it'll cost us money. Employees need to go do something, but it's like, I got to have you here for this project. But at the same time, your family's more important than this job. So yeah, go do that. I'll figure it out. It may cost me a little bit more money to make this job finished. However, I'm also thankful that you're going to spend time with your family. Come back later and we'll knock out the next project. So there's another thing of where employees aren't just employee numbers, because the phrase is always, well, if you quit today, they'll have, or if they, if you don't show up or whatever, they'll have you replaced before tomorrow. And it's like, yeah, some companies that are corporal and don't care about their employees might, but not here. And I think that's why it's a core value is people over profit. It's all the way around. It's your employees, it's your customers, it's the community, it's everyone that's a person.
No, that's well said. And again, it's a core value.
Yeah.
It is integrated into the core of this company, which I think is awesome. Core value number 3, stand by your work. That's in there as our third core value, stand by your work. You have a great lesson that you've taught all of us, and myself included, coming up. It's basically, everybody eventually gets this speech from Shay. Can you explain, is the envelope or is the invoice in the pocket?
This is the invoice in the pocket.
All right, the invoice in the pocket. Can you explain your story? Because people who have not worked here haven't gotten it, but it aligns 100% with stand by your work.
Yeah. So core value number 1, we talked about lead by example. Core value number 2, we talked about people over profit. Core value number 3, stand by your work. I'm not talking about you built this, stand beside it, take a nice picture. We're not talking about that. However, what we are talking about is an encompassing of all 3 of those. So it's all 3 of these values that link together. And when we talk about the invoice in your pocket, what that means is, 1, it's a lesson that I learned, led by example. It's a lesson that I learned from my father. It's a lesson that I was taught from Gerald Wilson, a mentor that helped me get to where I am today. And so invoice in your pocket is you do the job, you are finished with the job, and you're loading up, and you're like, yep, I'm done. Well, ask yourself a few things. Can I take this invoice right now, knock on the customer's door, hand them the invoice, and have them pay me with no questions asked? If the answer is yes, then you're done with the job. You've done everything you can. If for 1 second you think, well, that one corner of the property was kind of wet, and so did I weed eat that section when I went around and mowed it? Or some of those bricks that we cut, they're not quite as smooth. They're real angular instead of real smooth and curved, around this curve. Maybe I should go clean that up. Or did I sweep all the rocks out of the parking lot? Or did I blow up all the dirt and the leaves? Did I pick up all the trash, or did I mow it up with the lawnmower? If you're having a thought about anything that you might have left off and you knew you should have done, then the job's not done.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to go back and fix that part, because then you will say, I can take the invoice out of my pocket and hand it to the customer and know that they're satisfied. Because a lot of people don't like confrontation, and so sometimes the customer will not address what you did wrong. They'll find another landscaper.
Yeah, they just won't hire you back.
Yep, so they won't hire you back. And so you need to make sure that with 100% certainty that you have done everything you told them you would do. And so that is standing by your work, because you know that no matter what, you've given them everything. Now, if they don't call you back after that, then they lost a good landscaper. They lost someone that's true to their values, and they lost someone that will stand by what they've done. This also means that if they call you back and you have a problem with it, well, then you'll come stand by it. You'll say, well, I know that I did everything that I was supposed to do. Let me come back and look at it. Let me see what's wrong.
One thing, I'm not sure if you did this intentionally or unintentionally, or maybe it's done to you and you don't realize it, but that has conditioned all of us to run an audit at the end of every job. We audit ourselves. And so to this day, before I do anything, or even before I present to you and say, hey, here's this, I'll stop for a second and I'll go through like, all right, what questions will you be asking? Could you be asking? And did I cover them all? And so I always try to go at everything with a loaded gun to every question. I've got an answer to shoot down, like bam, 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 bam. And if there's ever one that gets through, it's, well, I did everything I could, but you pointed something I didn't know, so I didn't skip that thing. I didn't know about that thing.
Yeah.
As landscapers, a brand new landscaper will know so much to it. Like you said, you listed, I mean, from blowing the grass off after you edge to make sure, like, yeah, you did one part good, but you didn't do it in the right order, and so therefore it might look a little sloppy. Well, when you're handing the invoice, you got to think, is it completely done? Or does it look like something wasn't done? And if so, can I clean that up? So it goes to the theoretical and tangible, like what I'm trying to present. Will you have any questions? To, did I do it in the right order?
Yep.
Did I take care of everything that I say she's paying me to do, but like anybody's paying you to do?
Yep.
I was thinking about one of our customers, and so she's a female. But when you look at this, shout out to Linda. I was thinking about all the mulch that we put out. Did we get the clippings out? And I was so happy when she sent the picture. She actually included photos in the review she left on Google because she was so impressed with the property. And I remember talking to the guys, and we did a walkthrough via Zoom, and I could just see them laying it out. And like every question I was asking OD and I was asking Q, the guys, they're like, yep, we did that, we did this. I'm like, great job, guys. Like,
yep.
I had nothing to offer, nothing to add, and she was ecstatic. She's like, you took care of my plants and my property the way I would have taken care of it. And that's one of the best compliments as a landscaper we can get. So shout out to Linda for being the person in my head right now as we're talking about standing by our work, because that's one of the jobs where we did everything and we did it in the right order. And the guys knew to go through it in that process. And so by teaching us this, we're bringing it to all areas of this business, and we're bringing it to all pretty much interactions we have with our customers to ensure, like, when we say we're done, you're super satisfied. You couldn't ask for us to do more because we've already asked ourselves all those tough questions. And so we stand by everything that we do.
We have fulfilled all of the obligations that we had committed to. So you can go back to our previous podcast, obligations versus expectations, all that stuff too, and hear a little more about that. But we have fulfilled all that. We have done, we've done all of what we said we were going to do, if not more. And so that way we know that we're done. Now, sometimes on a very, very large project, it may not look the way you want it to look when you leave. However, the job that you were contracted to do is done. Obviously, if someone, for example, if someone hires you to come pour a concrete pad for a new building, well, you pour the concrete pad, they've built the building, you have to come back to finish up all the landscape. When you leave that portion, you've done all you can do. So, if the ground's not completely level around the building pad, well, they're getting ready to come build this gigantic mega structure or commercial building. So we've done our portion now. We're still good to leave. We still stand by what we've done because we know that we have done all we can do for this portion of the project. Not to be mistaken with every time we leave, you end up with a Southern Home and Garden show place that's magazine worthy, because not all jobs are listed that way. Mm-hmm. But I think it's important that the job you're doing is finished and that there's no explanations that need to be given or no questions of, hopefully they don't call me out on this one thing I skipped.
I think that leads right into the next core value, which is do it the right way, not the easy way.
Yeah.
It segues perfectly into that. So I pride us. I do not have a very lengthy hardscape or landscape background. And so when I came in here, I've been an expert in many other areas, and I've learned a lot of other things, but not this. And I was super pumped to have joined a company that is as detail oriented as we are. And when you say, look, we're gonna do it the right way, not the easy way, there are some ways to do some of the things we do that would boost our profit, but like greatly reduce the quality of what it is that we're providing because of the materials, because of the time put into setting the foundation properly.
Yep.
So could you speak to doing it the right way, not the easy way, and how Landscaping Unlimited ensures that's how we are run from just mowing a lawn to one of the most intricate hardscapes we could possibly do?
Yeah, so on the hardscape side, we'll start that way. We'll kind of go backwards.
No rules.
No rules. All right, so do it the right way versus the easy way. There's some previous conversations we've had in podcasts, stuff like this, where we talk about soil compositions and we talk about, how to construct a base or permeable patios versus impervious surface, all of that stuff. And do it the right way means that you take all of the factors of the job and you compile all that up into one design and one plan so that you can make sure that you hit every problem there might have so that you know that you're not going to get a callback. Because you don't want a callback. Callbacks mean that the customer's not happy or something failed, and so you don't want to have callbacks. And ultimately, a lot of times on patio work, I see this through the industry. Guys go lay a nice patio, and when they leave, the patios look good, but they didn't do all the prep work, so the base isn't compacted, or they didn't put any base down, and so the pavers are settling 2-3 weeks later, and it's not done right. It was done the easy way. They achieved getting payment and they achieved a overall look that looked good in a photo, however did not last. So that was an example of they did it the easy way and not the right way. Going into the lawn mowing side of things, there's tons of equipment out there for mowing lawns and lawn maintenance, trimming, mowing your grass, mulching up your leaves, edging your flower beds, edging your sidewalks and stuff like that. And one example that's coming to my head, it comes quite frequently to me, is weed eaters and stick edgers for edging sidewalks and driveways. In our industry, we have a ton of people that turn a string trimmer on its edge and use the string to edge sidewalks and all of these things. And I get it. While you're working, it's the most efficient for you because you've already got it in your hand. So why am I going to go back to the truck, grab a stick edger, all that stuff? I can think of a ton of windshields and windows that would say you should do it the other way. And the reason being is when you turn that weed eater was designed to run with the head spinning horizontal, which is when the guard is behind it, and it's not going to throw rocks up into the air as often. I get it, it happens, and that sometimes it still does. However, that's the way it was designed to work. So when you turn it the other way, you throw more rocks into the air, you throw more debris into the air against cars and parking lots. So on commercial properties where you've got, a curb and gutter into a parking lot and you're going around with that weed eater on its side and the string is facing the car, yeah, it might have been easier. However, you just
Shotgun
threw stuff all over everybody's car and literally damaged a ton of stuff, or hopefully you didn't. But a stick edger avoids that because of the way the guard's made. And so if you use the stick edger the way it's designed to be made, then you don't have all of that. And someone's going to say, oh, well, I use a stick edger and it throws a rock, straight into my leg or behind me, and it'll do the same thing. Well, yeah, if you're using it properly. But if you've got the guard down all the way onto the curb like it's supposed to, then you're not going to have that problem. And so, yes, you didn't do it the easier way, but you did it the right way. And then you decrease the amount of windows, car paint jobs, car washes, all that type of stuff that your company's probably going to end up with. And the other thing is mowing lawns. Striping a lawn, Zach's pointed this out to me very often as, how come we don't stripe some of our large commercial properties? And then why
it is beautiful.
And why do we stripe some of our why do we stripe our residential yards, but some big properties maybe we don't? And a lot of that conversation is basically, depends on the contract, what we're talked about. However, if you're planning to be a premier lawn care company and you're known for what your lawns look like, well, that's the right way. The right way would be to mulch up the leaves, to mow perfectly straight lines, and make everything look nice and pretty. However, sometimes in a lawn that's really cut up, those nice straight stripes are actually hard to do because, it's nothing square, nothing is you got a ton of flower beds and tree rings that you got to go around, so it's hard to keep everything straight. So the easiest way to do is just run over the grass that's not cut, but it doesn't give you the same look. And so that would be an example of the easy way over the right. Versus doing it the right way. And the right way would be giving the customer what they want, and that's a manicured lawn that has nice, pretty, perfectly laid down stripes versus looks like a Kentucky Derby where a bunch of horses ran around, and demolition derby where you've got some cars and you just made all these ruts and all that stuff in the lawn, but yeah, you still get the grass cut.
I think looking at that, one of the things that stands out to me most is that people think like, well, if you're going to do it the right way, not the easy way, it's going to be the harder and slower, and therefore you're going to incur a higher expense. And it's like, if you want to do something right, if you want to say that landscaping is a profession and it's a professional career, well, then you got to start acting like it. We got to stop treating it like, well, this is something that you can just ragtag, run through, smash through. Like, I get we're a bunch of bearded dudes operating in hoodies, going out and doing our thing, and we're outdoors all the time, covered in mud and dirt. Like, I get the caricature that people have made it to be, but there is a lot of professionalism that has to go into this. And so if you're going to do it the easy way, well, then you're the one that's diluting the quality of what this trade should be. But when you do it the right way, people see like, no, that is a profession. In the same way, I don't want my accountant cutting corners. I want them to make sure they take care of my money properly and they save me as much as they can from our government. You know, I don't want my dentist to be like, I'm only going to work on every third tooth because I can get in and out faster. I want my dentist to fix my mouth. You know, I want my surgeon to do his job right. I want my landscaper to get it done right. Not fast, not easy, but properly. So anybody that's like, well, you can just cut that corner, and that's the voice for them. But if you're going to just cut that corner, you know, well, then what else are you just going to cut? What else are you going to like try to rob from your customer? They're paying for a service. Give them the full quality service. Do it the right way, not the easy way. All right, and for our fifth and final core value that is intertwined with everything that this company does and what we base ourselves upon, it is being professional on and off the job. I particularly love this one because I maintain a very high standard on and off our job as to how I live my life and who it is that I am. And when I see anybody from any career act different off than they do on, I can't help but think like there's a little less trust that I have in that person when they're on their job because I know how they are off of it. This is a huge one, and I'm glad it's a part of how we run this business because, again, speaking to being a profession and being professionals in a career as opposed to just the guys who go out snip lawns outdoors, like we are professionals. To be a professional means you've got to maintain a certain standard as to who you are, and that doesn't change whether you're at work or whether you're at home. Not to me, at least. And so why did you make this a core value and put this into the employee handbook?
So this is in the employee handbook because ultimately we're looked at and viewed a lot. When we rewrote this handbook, we were starting our digital landscape, as Zach calls it. And so we're getting a lot of exposure. So we want to make sure that everyone understands that, you know, if you're out there and you're being seen by everyone, not just the people that we're actually working with, then it's you're holding up an image of the company. You're holding up the standard in which the company sets. And so we need all of our employees to realize that, you know, you have to be professional here, but when you're at home, you also have to be professional because the very customer that you might have worked with, they might see you at Walmart, you know, buying groceries. And if at Walmart your pants are down to your knees and your boxers are showing, or you're, you know, yelling across the store, well, guess what? That customer now looks at you a little differently because now they're not going to hire us back because they're like, I don't really know that I want that guy or that girl back on our job site because they weren't very professional in Walmart, or I didn't like the way they were handling, you know, their relationship. They were having some domestic disputes in the parking lot, and so it's, you know, very important that how you handle your stuff, how you handle your life outside of work, is how you're going to handle your life here. Just as equally as, you know, people say, well, leave your personal stuff at the door when you come to work. Well, that's very hard to do when you're trying to put people above profits and you're trying to intertwine this relationship of, you know, camaraderie between guys, because that stuff finds its way into work. And so if you live a very healthy lifestyle outside of work, then you can live a very healthy lifestyle inside of work because it all intertwines, and which ultimately then leads you to a job and a career that you love, because there is no, well, I got to go do this or I got to go do that. It's all the same. It's all, you're enjoying life and you're enjoying everything that comes with it. So it's very professional. It's on the job and off the job. And I think Zach can probably dive into this way more before I get into a tangent on being a good person and
no, it's fantastic. I'm saying, like, my brain is, I'm just thinking about
straight to Jesus.
When you, if you are at the bar and you are throwing down and throwing bottles against the wall and cheating on your wife, but then on Saturday, but then on Sunday you're at church with your family and you're holding like, I'm a good person. Man, God sees you outside of those walls. You know that, right? Like, and if you don't, surprise, how you live Monday through Saturday is as important, if not more important, since there's 6 of those days, as you are that 2 hours that you spend at church or just before, just after church on Sunday. It is who you are. And so this is why when people will say, well, I can be who I want to be, that's my personal time. Yes, you can. But if that's who you are in your personal time, I don't want you to be a part of my life. I don't want you to be a part of my company. Who you are showing that this is who I want to be that, but that is not what's for me. And so I'm saying that as Zach. For Landscape Unlimited, there's certain things we would never want the company associated with. You're an American, you're free to live that way, but that's not what this brand is built upon. When you're looking at who it is that you are as a company, when I go out and I take photos, how would you feel if I took a photo and I was sharing all of our guys, but all you could see was their boxers in the product, or all you could hear on the videos was people swearing? You would think differently of what it is we're putting out there. Why? Because people do judge. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. We want to be judged. We want you to judge us harshly because you're going to find out those are good men doing great work. They stand by what they believe in. I'm over here pointing to all of our trucks behind us. These trucks are driving around. That means something. When we get out of there, you should be like, I've watched them and judged them, critique them, and guess what? Every single time they're out there doing their thing, they're doing the best they can do. And if anything's ever wrong, they go and fix it. And so again, it's not about perfection. It's about progression. We're always progressing towards being better people and better men and better workers and better stewards to our community. We want to serve as best we can. There's a reason we brought up Mighty Young Men, and we have recently, because Shay dedicated time to go and see that, and he saw the power of it. He's like, all right, I want to progress here. So it's not that it was less than before, but it's like you were exposed to something. Cool, now that's a part of something I want to help grow. And that's just how we continue to do that. We continue to try to serve the other businesses in our community. We continue to serve ourselves to make sure that we're being our best to one another in here, and we're affording opportunities for men in here to grow, to get better. We have a lot of conversations about here's what's needed for you to get what it is you want, whether that's a title growth, whether that's licensure, whether that's certification, whether that's monetary growth, whatever that thing is that you're trying to get and develop inside this company. Shay literally is working elbow to elbow with us in the jobs like that. And it's like, hey man, I want to pick your brain. I've never seen him like, I can't talk to you. Like sometimes it's not in that exact moment because I got a chainsaw in my hand. Can't talk right now. But yeah, we'll have that conversation. Never have I not seen that conversation happen when an employee has approached and said, hey, I've got an issue. I've done it. I've gone many times like, yo, can I talk to you about this? And we'll have the conversation because I don't see something or I don't know something. And then it's explained to me. And so to me, when it's about being a professional on and off the job, like think about it as being like a professional person. A professional person would care about themselves. They would take care of themselves personally. They would take care of their family. They would take care of their loved ones. And when they go to their job, that would just extend to now customers and clients, co-workers, supervisors, the extended businesses where we're working with True Value, we're working with White Post, we're working with The Venue, we're working with Studio 5. We've got all these businesses that we're also interacting with, and you don't see a landscaper go in and treat True Value, give me this. It's hey, how are you? How you doing? Manners still are extended, politeness, engagement, and connection. It's like a giant family inside this family business. So it's a huge conglomeration of people from different walks of life and personalities, but we've all agreed to be professional. We've all agreed to do well in our lives, with our kids, with our families. And when you bring that to work, that's how the company wins. And for some people, that's not the right fit, and that's okay. I am very comfortable telling somebody like you are not the right fit because I know what it is that we stand for, and it's for truth, it's for honesty, and it's for, again, service to our community. And somebody that doesn't want the best for themselves, they're not going to want the best for their community. And so we can't have that happening because our goal is to be the best that we can provide.
Listening to Zach talk about that and recapping all these core values in my head, it's summed up as easiest as I can put it, as these are values that I think Jesus lived by. I think that a good Christian man would live by, a Christian woman would live by, and it's literally just being as Christ-like as you can. And so no intentions of making this podcast the holy roller of podcasts, but it always comes up. It always ends up being, this is where a conversation leads to with me, particularly in the past 6-7 months. But it's as simple as being a good person. And we talked about that in previous podcasts, but all these core values encompass being a good person. And so it's as simple as that. You don't have to try very hard to achieve these core values. In fact, you just have to be a good person. And
I can say this as someone who came in without the experience. because people have asked, like, how much experience do I need? Well, the more the better, for sure, because you just can do things faster. But if you come in without a lot of experience, but you're a good person, you'll find success in this company. Because you'll find yourself working and showing up and doing the things that it takes to excel and to grow and to learn, and it happens quickly. Like, we do so many things so fast that in a month's time, you'll have found yourself doing quite a bit, and in that time, you'll have learned quite a bit. And then it's kind of like there's a wash and then like a reset to where you do the next month a lot more bit, but then there's some overlap. And so you get better at the things that have the overlap, and you learn new material. The next month, rinse, wash, repeat. After a year, you are pretty exceptional at a lot of things. And that in itself, I think, speaks to the nature of just, if you're a good person, no matter where you go, you're going to find success. Yeah. So work on that. And good in an objective manner. I'm not saying you have to like the New England Patriots because I do. That doesn't make you a good person. I'm talking like honest, having integrity, being authentic. These are what make people good. And I would say it's fair to say that kind of person, no matter where you put them, they're going to win. But especially here, because we look for that.
I think that me and Zach are about to battle for who's going to close this podcast. 'Cause it's things that need to be said. But, I'll value core values as more important than your skilled value. And I say that because, yes, skills are important, and I want to hire people that know how to do all of the things that we do. However, I need your core values to align with what we have, because within you have a skill somewhere that will fit this company perfectly. And I'm going to exploit that. I'm going to see what skill that you do very well, and I'm going to find where that fits this company the most. And when I do that, you're going to find a spot that is going to benefit you because it's going to fit you, but your core values line with everything. So therefore, I don't have to teach all of that. I just have to fine tune and critique what it is that we do here on the actual manufacturing and product side of things. But you're going to bring a skill with you that we'll find out exactly where it fits, and we'll put you there. So I would rather see core values over skilled value any day of the week. You can close
I think you won the closeout. That was well said. And as the person who does the hiring, you have heard it directly from his mouth what it is you need to do to succeed if you want to be a part of this team. All right. Make sure you check the link below for that giveaway. Make sure you got your calendar set if you're watching the Super Bowl to watch it on WITN, because it will be hosting our ad, which is still so awesome to say, as well as the Olympics. So we've got the giveaway, we've got the Super Bowl, we've got the Olympics, and pretty soon we're going to have the drop for anybody that's looking to become a sponsor for the podcast. There will also be a link dropped. It's not there yet, but stay tuned for that, because once that link drops, you'll be able to see the packages and the costs associated with, and you can just jump on and reach out to us to get that rolling. So thanks for tuning in to another one.